All right, I'd like to call the Village of Cottage Grove Public Works and Property Sustainability Committee to order on Thursday, April 11th at 6:01 on my watch. We are holding this as a hybrid meeting, meaning that we are in Village Hall here, as well as on Zoom. The Zoom link is atop the agenda. There's also an audio call-in number as well at the top of the agenda. We have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted, and we'll take a pause here and allow anybody from the public for public appearances to speak. Again, if you are from the public, we just wish that you share your name, your address, your municipality, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes, again, so we can record that for the public. So with that, I'll pause. Anybody in the room or on Zoom who would like to speak, raise your hand. All right, then we'll move on to discuss and consider our meeting minutes from March 5th. Any questions, comments, edits in regards to the meeting minutes as presented?
I'll move approval of the meeting minutes from the March 5th, 2024 Public Works meeting.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next then, we have a presentation to this committee, and this is University presentation for a bicycle-friendly community implementation plan.
Yeah, this was one of the partnerships we had with the University Alliance Program. A student named Shay was working with me for the last semester and a half on finishing up our bike ped plan, and then she put together this implementation plan, basically lay out steps we take to apply for a bike-friendly status with the League of American Bicyclists this summer. The applications are due in June, and we've incorporated her implementation plan into the bike ped plan, which will be coming to this committee at the next meeting, hopefully for approval. And this is a piece of it and she actually added quite a bit to the bike ped plan. But basically this is just the roadmap towards the application process. And she had a friend's party to go to tonight, so I told her that sounds more fun than coming to this. And she's graduating and already has a job, so I think she was probably done with this. But she did a great job, and you'll see more of her work next month with the whole plan. So if there's any questions on the attachment, I can do my best, but it's pretty self-explanatory. This one's not overly complex.
So JJ, we expect to see her next time?
Yep, and the plan, for those of you who saw it the last time a year ago or a year and a half ago, a couple different times, the last piece right now is I want to talk with John and basically get the project plan portion of it, make sure we're on the same page, and then bring it back here for feedback, and then to the board and probably to Parks, and then incorporate that. That project plan is the biggest piece in my mind that we want to make sure there's projects identified that we're going to work towards.
And obviously also into the capital plan where appropriate.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions for JJ on this? It's exciting stuff. Every bike path I see in the community, when I'm on them, is being used, whether by me or somebody else, or usually multiple people. So, and four-legged friends as well. So, always good. Then next, we'll move to unfinished business, and this is discuss and consider recommendation for bid award for the 2024 streets. Josh.
Yeah. So we just opened bids yesterday. That's why you didn't see them in your packets early. We kind of knew that. That's why we kind of, if you recall, moved this meeting around a little bit. There was a letter that I believe John handed out to everybody that just kind of summarized a little bit of the bid tab. I'm just going to give you just kind of a broad range of kind of what all the numbers are, and you guys can ask some questions.
Josh, sorry, real quick. Did the members who are virtual get it emailed to them? So are they looking at this?
That is a good question. They may not have, right? So
No.
I could share it.
Oh, there we go.
It's a great question.
Yeah, Mike and Larry need to see it.
I will say that I don't have the copy you shared, but I did print it yesterday after the bid opening because I was online, so I've got the numbers with me.
And I can share it here too. 1 second.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, that's good. It won't let me share, right? Or will it?
It should.
It will.
Otherwise, you gotta sit next to me.
Yeah. I could do that. Okay. So there's a lot to probably even see on your screen online on this. So I'll just kind of summarize it a little bit. If you recall, we broke this project up into kind of an overall large base bid. So like the original bid, you know, the full kind of project, but then we pulled out 5 different pieces just because we weren't sure on the overall cost of it going into it, comparing the kind of last year's prices and then just some of the unknowns for the lots. So the low base bid that we got for the entire project was that 2 million, that first number that you see in the letter, 2,019,185.75 cents, which was quite a bit less than our estimate for all that work at like 2.6, just a little over 2.6. So there was a big difference in kind of where we thought this was going to come in. A lot of it, when we kind of look back, is the sheer volume of it compared to some of the last year's work. Just a lot more good pricing. Some of the pricing was even a little bit lower than some of the stuff last year, which was pretty good to see. We hadn't seen that in a handful of years in the market. They were tending to trend upward, not steady, you know, at the similar prices to the year before. And then the total overall, so if you included all 5 of the items which are listed there, that came in right around 2.364 and $2.3,064,009. That was overall, it's about close to 650 less than we expected overall for the project. So really good at the end of the day. I won't go through each alternative in the numbers. They were all kind of where we thought they would be. We had a bid alternative for additional paving at Bonnie Road. We had a bid alternative for some MSB additional paving on their lot. We had a bid alternative 3 for the loading dock removal over at Bonnie Road facility again. We had a bid alternative for a washout station at MSB. And then we actually pulled a complete road off. And we had discussed that last time, as Oak was probably in the best spot as far as you know, the pavement quality out there. So we pulled Oak Street out completely just to make sure that if we had to eliminate a street, we had one pinned down. The only thing out of all of this cost, bid alternative 1, we expected to be quite a bit less. It was at $68,000, so that's that first item up there, $68,985. And we were expecting it to be closer to that $8,000 range. And through the bid, there was an actual error by the low bidder. They put a lot of money towards one item that didn't make sense. And the reason for it is that it was a lump sum item to begin with, and it got changed to a cubic yard. So they put their lump sum of like $1,200 on it, but it got changed to 50 cubic yards. So it was times by 50 cubic yards per, and it got, you know, 60 grand, you know, all of a sudden got added for that one item. We reached back out to them and say, this seems to be an obvious error. We know you're low, even with this error, but when you look at the others, would you, you know, consider and pull your pricing back a little bit? And they did adjust. They didn't go all the way down to be the lowest, which we felt was fine, but instead of 60,000, it was like 3,000 for that item. So we saved, you save another 57,000 right off the bat with that one kind of mistake which was pretty plain to see. And Payne and Dolan came back and said, yeah, that makes sense. So in approval of this tonight, realize that we will have a change order at the beginning that will remove that one bid error right off the bat. That's not really reflected in this because as this was put together, I was working on the backside of trying to figure out what that cost really would be for them. Is there any questions specifically about any of it? I guess our recommendation would be that, you know, all of this fits well under the budget. We have worked with Payne and Dolan before as a prime, as they are here, and as a sub on many projects, even here in the village, where they are just, you know, providing asphalt.
The overall street project included all the streets.
Andy, can you,
Sorry. The overall project itself is repaving of streets like Woodview, Cresthaven, I'm probably messing them up, part of Oak.
Yep.
And then this were bid alternatives applied to it for the Public Works facility.
So we still, as part of the overall, we still had all of those streets, minus Oak, we pulled out just to make sure we had that. But we also had Public Works building, this Village Hall parking lot, and Bonnie, all in that base bid too. We just pulled out some pieces.
Okay.
To make sure that, we did some additional paving, some of those, there were some additional things that we pulled out of them just to to be safe that if we wanted to go through and pave those lots, but we maybe didn't have to do all of the pieces this time. It was kind of more of a wish list that Public Works had, if the money was there.
Okay, so
we pulled
2
those
million
pieces
is the kind of, for the projects outside of the Public Works, and these are all bid alternatives?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, those bid alternatives, but the second row of numbers on that first paragraph, the 2.3 million plus change, that's all in with all the bid alternatives, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
At the top up there. So you have that first number that's just a little over 2 million, right? That's the base bid. But if you added them all together, you'd be at about 2.364.
Okay.
Minus that 57,000 I was talking about earlier that we got pulled out, that isn't shown in here.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
So a little bit over 2.3 million, which is still below the $3 million that was budgeted overall for the job by the city, during the budget cycle of last year.
other questions for Josh?
I got a quick question more so for the group. The bid alternative number 3, which is removing the truck dock off of the Bonnie Road building. Can I get a little explanation as to why we feel it's necessary to remove that dock and not have it available to us as the owner of the building, and or potentially down the road if we were to sell that building to have it as an asset for that building? Is it a maintenance issue? Is it I just like an explanation as to what the need to spend the money to abandon that.
That loading dock, basically, I guess the way staff and when I came into this, the thought process is we could use that garage as an in and out. We're trying to squeeze as much stuff in as we can, and between the MSB and Bonnie, and that loading dock currently doesn't serve a purpose. What it also does inside is it doesn't allow us to back something into that space. So Mike is right in the sense that, in 10 or 15 years or 20 years, whenever the village decides to sell that building, there is a potential that it's a perk that there's currently a loading dock there. But in that time frame, there's more, in my eyes, there's more of a need to have that as an ability to utilize the interior space of that a little easier. We could in theory, we could just back a trailer right in there and park it like our valve exerciser or whatever that might be. It can just get backed in, parked, and you can kind of pull it right out. We personally, as a village, we don't need a loading ramp, a loading dock, but Mike is right. There is this potential that down the road, if we sell it, certainly that building would benefit from a loading dock, in that current form, because there is a future person might like that. There's no question.
I thought, maybe I'm confusing it with the Progress Road facility, but weren't we filling in a loading dock there as well? And in that one, weren't we basically filling it in, paving it with the ability to maybe in the future extract and put it back as a loading dock?
On Progress Road, that would stay
Permanent?
Permanent,
Okay.
yes.
That conversation was around this Bonnie Road
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, it was around,
Okay.
and I pulled it up on the screen just so that everybody has it, and I shared the Google Street. That's the one we're talking about at Bonnie Road. So we're talking about, and what Mike points out is, we're taking this out and then we're bringing that up to grade, to level. And it won't be something that you can pull in with a truck and have, you know, go down in and load off of a truck that has, you know, a higher back or something to it, right? And there's like a little elevator kind of system in there, right, John? Same as the other one where you can kind of lift things up and down.
So currently, there's a, you know, you can kind of see it, that little dark spot at the very middle bottom. There's a pipe that's, you know, would need some TLC, and then inside there's a sump pump that's gonna need some TLC if we don't do this, because all that water runs down currently and then fills the sump pump, and it gets pumped kind of back out into the landscaping area to the right.
Right over in here.
So, if the board or if the committee here doesn't really want to do that, that's, you know, we can accept that. We just would have to do some other stuff in there to kind of take care of the internals to make sure that's functioning appropriately.
Do we know how much that would cost?
Probably less than 1,000,
Okay.
most likely.
I figured it wasn't
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
but thought I'd ask. I mean, I'm not sure if the village will get rid of this building, and by the time the village considers getting rid of this building, it's probably gonna be a tear down,
Yeah.
or knock down, or fall down. But I get what Mike's saying.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not, you know, adamantly against it. I just wanted to bring it up as a discussion because I didn't understand the entire background for the usage, et cetera. And I will say, you know, if you look at the bid tab for the price that you're getting to remove it, it's a pretty darn good price. So,
And I think that was kind of one of the reasons we may have alternated it. This was discussed a little bit, Mike, you brought it up before too, to kind of leave it and have that discussion again on this specifically. That's why it was part of an alternate bid also.
right, that's why I just wanted to understand it so we can discuss it and know what number we're talking about.
Yep.
I guess to me, if it's more useful for the next however long we have it, and it's gonna be continuing maintenance, probably just get rid of it. Maybe do as the committee talked about, where you allow it to be, you can remove the material later on if you need it. I don't know if that costs more, but I suspect not. You just fill it in and don't break up the concrete that's there. I don't know. Others have thoughts on that?
I would agree.
And that railing thing that protects those folks from stepping off there is kind of in the way too for cars when there's two of them coming through our trucks.
Well, I almost look at it as almost kind of a risk. You've got people coming and going. Little kids could climb up, fall off. I don't know. I think if it was one even plane, that might be a little bit safer. The risk is maybe not high, but I still think it's there.
Well, somebody's hit it because it's bent. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't know who, but I'm just saying I know it. And it wasn't me.
You know, so like saving it, right? Like if we were trying to fill it in and save it, like we'd have to make sure that the sump and stuff's covered and that you save that piece of it. The hard part is right below the door there, there's this system, right? So there's this system, it's a mechanical system that sits in this space. And it's like when we take it out of the other ones, we actually cut down and we remove that mechanical system and we pour a new floor in there so it can kind of be used as a door too. So I mean, like bringing it back with that mechanical system in, it's like we're kind of deconstructing something to kind of build what we are here. I just don't know how easy it, even if you try to granular fill it, you probably want to take off that railing and those walls and, you know, you're losing. You can always dig it out and put it back, I suppose, too.
Yeah.
Like they have it, because you have a foundation wall that goes down there.
I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just saying if that's what the committee thinks
Yeah.
we should do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it's a great idea anyway, because you're right back to sump pump water. Because if you have the pit there, you're gonna have water. Mold,
Yes.
after we just paid for that to be removed.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely easier if we think we're gonna use it in the future, probably leaving it the way it is, than to try to kind of come up with this intermediate thing where, well, we'll use it like this way for a while, but we could always go back. Mike, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I mean, you could do that, but if we thought that it was such an asset to this building, we might sell it. I would almost suggest, like, let's just leave it the way it is and not actually spend any money on it, besides maybe fix your sump stuff, right, John?
I would agree. I think to try to save it and salvage it, probably is not worth the amount of effort that would be going into it to do that. So unless there's any other discussion, I'll make a motion to move forward with, approving the, bid that was provided, including all alternates, as they were presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second then. Any other discussion?
John, with the change order to come for that one correction in the bid tab. Mike, too, right?
You want to include that in your motion, Mike?
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. And Jim, you good with that?
Yep.
Less money's always good. If there's no other discussion, then all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right. Pleasant surprises, I like it. Josh, keep talking.
Engineers report. So most of the stuff in the engineering report has been reported. As far as Shady Grove, we're still kind of waiting to start that kind of second phase of it up near County Trunk Highway BB. West Lawn, we're working through Hamburg and the lift station details. We've kind of got that pretty much hammered out. The next phase of work will begin, this year on that, and the lift station stuff will kind of proceed forward. Hayday, some of you've probably known or have heard that Hayday's been in and out, talking about kind of their GDP plan and how Hayday's gonna all lay out there. We're kind of working with them now. I guess as far as Public Works is concerned, I would say we're kind of working on access still with them. So this is the lot that's at the corner of Cottage Grove Road and Bus, right? But just south of the school, and we're working with access to them. They have a fundamental drive that kind of comes up as a cul-de-sac, and it's a right-in, right-out the way they have it proposed. We've been talking to the county about, can it be a full access? They're doing a traffic study to show that, what a full access would do there. The county we've had a meeting with the county. They seem open to understanding what that access would be and talk about jurisdiction of that roadway and other things that could go along with that. So good progress on that, more to come. They'll have a precise implementation plan that will kind of hammer out the details of this in the next month or two. Cottage Grove Retail, just a couple other sites that we've been looking at. Cottage Grove Retail, that's at Court Crossing, right across from the New Tech site. That was on the planning and zoning last night and discussion on that retail site. Foundation Dance, which is on Limerick Drive, again along Cottage Grove Road. That has been approved by Plan Commission. We're working through some of the final small details on their site plan, but they got land disturbance permit issued for that, so they're gonna be cranking, and I didn't drive by there. They might even be digging out there.
They are
already,
cranking.
right? Yeah, I know they were excited to get going, so.
There's a big pile of dirt.
Yeah. The last thing I had on here, well, two things, but Alliant Energy, we're still kind of, in discussions with them on how to get to their site, how to provide a public access and maybe even an easement access off the back of the Piggly Wiggly parking lot. And then Public Works projects, we talked about that just by approving this bid. Any questions?
One real quick question. The Hayday Development, are with the exception of Fundamental Way, all the streets and utilities there are private? Is that correct?
That is correct, Mike, in the fact that Foundation in the cul-de-sac would be public, and then we still are gonna need some water main and some sewer that's gonna reach all the way over, serve to the east, potentially serve to the north. Serve to the west and to the north from there. So we'll have some sewer and water as a portion of that, but a majority of the stuff through their site is private.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, fundamental is supposed to extend to the private roads, which will then include their commercial property, potential library, the library site, proposed library site, and the existing business, the dental and chiropractor business. So all that will be public. It's the last conversation we had, but obviously we'll need to see it.
Yeah, haven't seen the final details, and we've also talked to the school district. We'll probably get a path connection kind of off the fundamental driveway, between the library and Hayday that kind of connects up into their site too for connectivity, so
Good.
that'll be good.
Any other questions for Josh? All right, John, anything from you?
I guess some notable things kind of happening right now. We have started to kind of procure like most of our fleet that we kind of budgeted for in 2024. So we have our 3/4 ton, our 1/2 ton, our mini loader came late last week, and we were able to use it for brush this week, which was the staff really liked the ability to use that.
Does it still smell new?
What's that?
Does it still smell new inside?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Our track skid steer showed up today, actually, which is great. So really, we're just kind of waiting on our replacement toolcat. So that's a week or so out. So then we'll be all caught up. We still have this 2023 patrol truck kind of sitting in a limbo yet. It's still yet to be built, but it's at least a figment in somebody's eye anyway somewhere. So which is great.
Do we have any plow trucks that we're still waiting for?
Just that 2023.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yep. Let's see, currently, because I don't want to say this, but ultimately, spring is here, so we haven't started taking plows off yet, but I think it's safe to say that we're done with snow. So, staff have been out kind of repairing snowplow damage, reseeding and kind of top dressing areas where the wing had kind of got off the curb and in areas. We're out sweeping streets and checking storm outfall inspections and kind of taking care of all that stuff. While we've had some rain, it's a perfect time to kind of get out and kind of look at some of our outfalls. And then yellow curb is going to start in the next week or two. We always like to get that yellow curb done before we get any kind of real grass growth or any kind of weeds that kind of end up growing over the curb. It just kind of makes for a better product. So that's about it for now for the Public Works Department. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Where did we end up with the salt? Are we surplus, deficit?
We have a little bit of a surplus. We're pretty certain we can fit it. I mean, obviously, when we order salt, and we've already ordered salt for next year, we have to order it in April in this consortium, the Dane County Consortium. So we have 140 some ton left that we have to get delivered to us before the end of April. So next step is we have to order it, get on a list, and then have it delivered to us. We're pretty confident we can do some magic and get it kind of wedged in the best we can, and we do have some options if we need to store a little bit somewhere elsewhere. We really don't want to put it under a tarp somewhere out in the elements. So we do have some other options that we can in another site to kind of hide it, but not hide it, but tuck it away so it's not worrying about tarps and things and getting rained on.
But with previous years, that doesn't seem like a huge amount to me. Is that kind of fall in with what you've done?
It does, and basically, I know we all think that, we had this really easy year, right? Well, I mean, we had a couple really icy situations, which, ice and salt, you use, I don't want to say use more, but you definitely, between us, we use more salt. When we have really icy situations, we have traffic, and snow is a lot easier to kind of deal with. You can play the 120 ton per lane mile thing and try to do the best you can to conserve, because it's easier for people to get around on snow than it is on that's really hard pack icy situations. So we were out last I checked 23 24 times. So even though we all think we didn't have much of a winter, that's still not that far from, not that less than average for us. So,
right.
so basically we definitely have a surplus, but but I definitely don't wanna hesitate to think we should cut back, because that's, you know, when, as soon as you start doing that, then we get a Wisconsin winter, and then we're in some kind of trouble, you know?
Well, you jinxed us now. We're probably gonna get another snow.
Yeah.
Just let it melt.
All right, any questions for John? All right, maybe now we can get back on our normal schedule, set the next date for our next meeting. We're back to the first Tuesday, or we run into something else? That would be May 7th. Yeah.
Yep, good.
Nothing else we have to meet prior to that, that anybody's aware of? Okay. All right, if everybody's good with that, then we'll, next meeting will be May 7th. Future agenda items, anything that we need to call out?
I have a thought for future agenda items. We've discussed it a little bit. We have the 2025 projects coming up. One of them is the bike trail, South Grange to County Trunk Highway on Main Street along Cottage Grove Road. We would like to probably, maybe in our next meeting, come in and just talk through the scope of that, you know, look at Google a little bit, look at some of the maybe impacts, some of the harder spots, talk a little bit about the thoughts behind it before we actually get started in that. So the idea is, between that project and the other, for 25, we're gonna probably later this summer into early fall have to start designing and kind of get going. So I think an early meeting with this group before we get into it, and then get into it and come back to this group would probably be a good idea.
Probably want to touch base, I'm sure we've already kind of thinking about this, available grants too and things of that nature, because that's one of the things we talked about a while ago.
Right, so there's that one, John, and then there's also the Taylor Main Street Wellbridge intersection is on the 25, you know, for ped and bike and everything else improvements there also. So those two specifically.
Yep. That one's harrowing for some kids going across sometimes. Or people, older people like me. Anything else? From anybody else? All right, then, item 11. We have a first,
I'll second.
second, non-debatable, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we'll see everybody in a month, less than a month, actually.